Hey everyone! Hope you're having an amazing day. It's Code Karen. Welcome to Reddit Stories, where we have 2 incredible stories with comments. If you're new to this channel, a sub would be great. Tap that notification bell. Let's jump right in. Am I the idiot for asking my emotionally fragile daughter to take a paternity test to help me in my divorce? My wife and I are going through a divorce after being separated for almost 4 years. We didn't do this sooner because my daughter was very young and impressionable. So we separated our finances, co-parented amicably, and decided to wait until our daughter was a little older. It was important for both of us that we tried to remain united, even though there was no way I was ever going to reconcile. We separated after I confronted my wife with evidence of her multiple affairs while we were married. But I wasn't mad, just happy to be done with her and the marriage. At first, our daughter was not too fazed by the transition because we did everything possible to make it as easy as possible for her. However, 2 months after I moved out, my wife moved a boyfriend into our house and made our daughter very uncomfortable. She made the decision to live with me the majority of the time, and I was very happy with that arrangement. My wife has been very irresponsible about bringing men around my daughter, but that's another story. Recently, I got a promotion at work, and my wife decided to formally file for divorce. I'm sure it was because I was now making way more money than her. Timing is everything, right? It's interesting because things went from cordial meditation to hostile very quickly. She requested full custody of our daughter and a lot more money than we originally agreed to. We were at an impasse in negotiations, and my wife was unwilling to admit to her affairs. So I threatened to get a paternity test for our daughter to prove her infidelity. I had suspicions before about the paternity of my daughter when she was born, but I never acted on them because I didn't want to lose her. Well, this was a huge mistake because my threat caused my wife to reveal to our daughter that she was indeed an affair baby. The worst part was that she told our daughter that if I find out that she was an affair baby, then I wouldn't want her anymore. This is outrageous and blatantly false. My vindictive wife told our daughter all this to try to get her out of my home and drive a wedge in our relationship. This caused my daughter to become withdrawn, paranoid, and an emotional wreck for weeks. I have no clue what was going on. After talking to my lawyer and getting assurance my parental rights would not be affected by a paternity test, I decided to ask my daughter to take the test. I sat her down and explained it was just to prove her mom's infidelity and that she was still my daughter and I loved her. Unfortunately, before I could tell her much of anything, she had a full-on panic attack and locked herself in her room. Luckily, her favorite aunt, my sister, came to pick her up, and she is now living with her for the time being. My sister is the one who informed me of the things my wife said to my daughter to become so uncommunicative. Due to my sister's intervention, my daughter and I have been going to counseling, and the good news is that my daughter plans to come to live with me again. But my sister let me know very clearly that she thinks I'm an idiot for asking my daughter to take the paternity test, and she doesn't blame her for refusing to get tested. But the time to prove my wife's infidelity is running out, and I believe my relationship with my daughter is stronger than the results of any DNA test. Am I the idiot for asking my emotionally fragile daughter for a paternity test to help me prove my wife's infidelity and our very messy divorce? Let's head to the comments. Commander of 45 says, "You're the idiot. I've been through this. The paternity test doesn't matter in terms of custody and spousal support arrangements, so you don't benefit in terms of leverage in any way whatsoever. You're her dad, and that's all that's needed. It's unfortunate it had to be this way, but your soon-to-be ex-wife is trying to take you to the cleaners, and from what you've shared, your estranged wife is more interested in exploring her boyfriends than raising her daughter." Matt F002 says, "Not the idiot. I had to get a paternity test for my youngest to prove she is my daughter for my custody case with my ex. It was one of the most gut-wrenching things I had to do. In my heart and mind, I knew she was mine, but the little voices started talking since there was infidelity in her mother's past. Because of the situation at the time, I had to do it secretly. It was a stressful time. I still look at the file every now and then and get emotional when I look at her picture in the file. She was just an innocent child caught up in a mess her parents created. She is mine in every way and lives with me full time. I am so thankful that the paternity test gave me peace of mind and also the truth. Kiwi Geek Mom says, "Everyone stinks here, except for your daughter. Your ex is obviously an idiot for multiple reasons, but you are deliberately hurting your daughter because you are using her as a pawn in your hostile divorce with her mother. Rule number 1 of divorce: don't use the kids to fight your battles. Also, don't make your kid feel like she is not loved and cherished. You're literally asking for a test to prove she's not your child. Is your need to prove infidelity more important than your daughter's present and future mental well-being? Everyone loses if you go through with this paternity test. I feel so sorry for your daughter, who is stuck in the middle of your nasty divorce. Your ex is more of an idiot, but you still deserve it too." Our next story is, would I be the idiot if I withheld from the police my video footage of my neighbor's house being robbed because I can't stand them? I'm going to make this post as short as possible. My neighbor and their children have terrorized the neighborhood since they moved in last year. They blast music until 2 in the morning, they start fights with everyone, and their disrespectful kids run wild in the streets. A number of people on my street tried to have respectful talks with the parents, but they do nothing about their behavior or their punk kids. This post is just the short version of the havoc they have caused everyone that lives around them. The police have been called numerous times, but they can't do anything about them. Anyway, long story short, their house got robbed last night. Luckily, they weren't home, and my camera caught everything. The police were knocking on everyone's door to see if anyone saw or heard anything, but we pretended like we weren't home. Once the police left, I replayed the tape and I could see perfectly the 3 men breaking into their house. I'm debating on whether or not to say anything because I can't stand these people, and I'm kind of glad they got robbed. Serves them right. So, would I be the idiot if I conveniently withheld this video evidence and just waited to see what happens? If this would have happened to me, I would want someone to help me. But I've tried to be friends with these neighbors, and they have no respect for me or my family. So, karma to them. Let's head to the comments. Theory Addicto says, "You're the idiot. I'm no detective, but I imagine that withholding footage that could help solve a crime is an accessory to that crime, or even tampering with evidence, which is a legit crime. You also kind of lied to the police when you dodged them. I know you're under duress to do the right thing, but you have an obligation to show that footage, undesirable neighbors or not. Think of it this way. If these bad guys aren't caught, you don't know if those robbers would strike one of your good neighbors, or even your home next. Don't be a crappy neighbor yourself, and give the footage up." Sucker for Cats says, "I'm going to be the odd out and say, not the idiot. I have a background in criminal justice, and typically people get robbed by someone they know. If these neighbors treat you like they say they do, imagine how they treat everyone else. I say, there is a high likelihood that they made someone mad enough to come and rob them. The risk to you for withholding this information is there, but small. However, if it got out that you gave the police this videotape evidence, the potential robbers or their friends might come back to, quote, pay you a visit as retribution. It would be clear to someone from the video which direction the cameras were pointing, and these bad guys could figure out that video came from your house. I would not share it unless the police served you with a warrant demanding it. Just my thoughts. I could be wrong. KJB Tetrick says, everyone stinks here. Based on your description, your neighbors are awful. I've had my house and houses close to me broken into. It's scary and incredibly upsetting. Think of it this way. It's possible that the thieves targeted your neighbor specifically, but it's more likely they are targeting the whole neighborhood. For your own sake, and for your neighbors that you do like, give the footage to the police. You don't want to regret it one day and say, if only. I say, always protect your family, even if it means helping out your horrible neighbors. Hey Code Karen community, what would you do in this situation? I'd love to hear your comments. See you in the next story.